What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Before we get into today's topic, please go check out our website, harshlanguage.tv, to connect with us. You can find all of our podcast episodes, YouTube videos, and curated nerd news. So what we're here to talk about today, folks,
Bum, bum, bum.
here at Harsh Language, we decided that it would be fun to make Marvin watch an iconic film that he hasn't seen. And this month's film is Predator. Not The Predator, not Predators, not Prey, but as Dusty said, the OG Predator. Just Predator. 1987. Marvin.
Yeah, I knew straight away.
I was a guppy.
It was from 19 something.
I was a guppy at the time.
Had to be from 19 something.
You son of a bitch.
Film opens with an alien spacecraft sending a shuttle to Earth, and we quickly meet our Vietnam War veteran, Major Dutch. He is called upon to put together a rescue team with his boys, Mac, Poncho, Blaine, Billy, and Hawkins. And they're tasked with rescuing a foreign cabinet minister and his aide from South American insurgents. You know, as a little correction, in our Prey review, we said that this movie takes place in Vietnam. It's South America. So I want to make that correction before we get fucking yelled at. Dutch is actually brought in by a former war buddy of Dutch's, Al Dillon. Marvin, throughout this movie, did you notice like all the iconic lines that you've probably heard throughout the years in reference?
Yeah.
And
the first one I saw was the meme where they grab hands.
Son of a bitch.
I never knew that was where it came from.
I don't think there's a movie in history. Maybe Die Hard is like close second, but I don't think there's a movie in history that has more iconic one-liners than Predator. It's like every other fucking line. But that's the first big one, you son of a bitch. And then there's the meme of them fucking giving
Arnold
dabs.
is notorious for one-liners. I think Terminator and Predator are very often quoted in movie films.
Right.
So our group goes into the fucking South American jungle. Let's just real quick. The jungle fucking sucks. There's nothing good in the jungle. It's wet. It's fucking misty. It's humid. There's scorpions. No, we don't belong. Humans don't belong in the jungle.
Yeah. That's true.
And while they're on their mission, they see the wreckage of a helicopter and a couple of skinned Green Berets. And Dutch recognizes them as one of his colleagues, and he's like, whoa, this dude wouldn't just get skinned alive like a bitch like this. And he becomes a little suspicious of his boy Dylan's intentions. Well, it turns out Dylan sent them into a fucking death mission for the CIA. They were basically just being grunts for the CIA. And lo and behold, it was not a South American insurgent that skinned these Green Berets, Marvin. It was the Predator. And he's hunting. And, you know, our boy Billy, I feel bad for Billy because he's the whole time, he's like sus as fuck. He's the expert tracker of the group.
He's like fucking looking
He's like,
up. He's on his shit.
He's like, I don't see no footprints. And they're all like, nah. Just 4 or 5 guys out there, you know, just doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're out there. They're on this fake fucking mission by the CIA. They kill some rebels. You know, Dutch eventually confronts Dylan, and he reveals that the true mission was to, you know, stop a planned Soviet-backed invasion. And the original group that they saw, the downed helicopter and the skinned guys, the first team, they were just Green Berets that the CIA had sent in a couple weeks earlier for the same mission. And we meet Anna, who's the only surviving guerrilla of the group, and she's captured, and she's taken along with them. And we learn that there's some rebels coming any day now, and they got to get to the chopper. And the rest of the film is basically them getting to the chopper, all the while being stalked and hunted by the Predator.
Right.
And I mentioned in our Prey review, Marvin, that these two Predators were very different. And I'm wondering if you were able to notice that. Like, the Predator in this film is like way more precise in his executions. He's picking them apart one by one. He's way more like skulking in the shadows. He's strategic about his attacks, whereas the Predator and Prey was way more just like brute force. I'm just going in and fucking everything up, you know?
Yeah, this Predator he seemed like more of a bitch
really
compared to the other Predator. Yeah. You could call it strategic and all this shit, but like I thought it was kind of whack.
All right.
Just you know. So in this one, the Predator being hidden so much didn't really do it for me. I think I may be biased from watching Prey first. I really didn't get the same feeling of terror compared to something like Jaws, for example.
Okay.
I don't think there was enough suspense in this movie.
Okay. All right.
But like I said, this movie was maybe just destined to suck for me since I was fresh off watching Prey.
So are you just saying out of the gate you didn't like it?
It was okay.
Oh my God. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
Like I said, I already knew about Predator and the lore and these sorts of things. So it's very likely that the movie was already just straight up ruined for me.
How did you feel about the similarities in the movie and the style of the story they told? Like, Prey, it's obviously the French trappers and the Indians that the Predator's hunting versus Predator, it's the spec ops teams that he's hunting, but very similar stories. I mean, does one hold up better than the other? One's better than the other. They're kind of similar, but you like the other one better because better technology, graphics.
I don't think, like I said, I don't think the way that the Predator hunted in the original Predator was like, I don't know, it wasn't that impressive to me. He was just kind of like Dan said, he was picking them off one by one. It was more strategical, but it didn't. I don't know.
He had advanced tech, so it made it easier.
Right. Like it's not like, it's not like he's like tracking them really and doing all this special stuff. He's already got fucking infrared vision, like
the plasma cannon.
Yeah, like it's not, I don't know. I felt like Prey, it was more like head to head, like it felt more like a challenge, like they actually had an opportunity. And I get like
more primitive for sure.
Yeah, I get that time passes, so maybe the predators get more advanced and they get better ways of hunting, but if they're hunting for a challenge, I don't know. There's two different predators, so they could be from two different predator tribes, whatever, right? So that's a factor, but maybe this tribes are just some scary little bitch boys. I don't know. That's kind of it didn't really do much for me the way that this predator hunted.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you were saying that because I kind of made the joke to myself while I was rewatching it earlier. Is that like, this bitch predator relied on his fucking fancy tech throughout the whole movie and fucking heat vision and all this shit, and all it took was a little bit of mud to fucking throw him off his game.
Right. I was gonna bring up a point about the tech. Like, I don't get why at the end he would fight Dutch fairly after using all this technology and shit first, and then be like, okay, yeah, let's just box it out.
Oh, it's a matter of pride, Marvin.
Yeah, okay. Now he has pride after shooting everybody in the back. All of a sudden, he has pride. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's a bit of a hunter's dilemma. You have the do you go out in the woods and do you stalk your prey?
Yeah,
and do you actually hunt it and kill it, or do you go climb up in a tree and put some
shoot it
down
with it
and wait for your prey to walk up and park right in front of you and say,
"Right,
you're dead, motherfucker." Like,
right.
It
maybe I just don't understand
the
art of hunting. Possibly, maybe I just don't get that.
I mean, I'll be honest. For all you hunters out there, I think you guys are some bitches sitting in the fucking bushes killing innocent animals from afar. Like, if you're gonna hunt some shit, go hand to hand at least. Give it a fight. No, I'm kidding. That's gonna piss a lot of people off.
I wasn't super interested in any of the characters either, but they were dropping like flies throughout the movie, so I didn't have much time to get invested in any of these characters. Mac was my favorite character, but then he just got washed as well. He was a little salty. His boy died. I get it.
Oh yeah,
I get it.
He was coming apart at the seams throughout this movie. He's like, oh boy, oh shit, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to, despite I know you have like sort of not an issue, but you have a hard time
Yeah.
getting into like the older movies, right?
Oh boy, did I? Yeah, these cheesy ass. The special effects felt super cheap, and I
You know-
know it's an '80s movie. Okay.
Listen,
So there's bound to be some cheesy ass BC graphics, like like 900 BC, like Jesus. But we recently covered Jaws and Top Gun,
mhm.
and these didn't leave me grimacing. But I know that these movies also didn't have like a lot of maybe special effects.
You know,
I figured that the biggest problem you might have with the special effects is the Predator stealth. Because
Yeah.
obviously in the original 1987 Predator, the way that they stealthed
Right.
the Predator is cheesy
listen,
Yeah.
and dated.
you'd be wrong.
This
You'd be
is-
wrong.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I pulled this information specifically because of how amazing it is. You might think it's cheesy now with all the fancy
It is.
fucking
It was ahead of its
technology.
time for sure.
I'm
yes.
sure it was.
I want to read this to you. I was blown away by this. I didn't know this until I looked it up. So the visual effects were actually a big part of this movie. Joking aside, this actually was like a groundbreaking film for the time. Not just because of the special effects as a genre movie. It was kind of groundbreaking as it wasn't your traditional like run and gun shoot 'em up action movie. It wasn't your traditional sci-fi film, and it wasn't your traditional horror film. So it turned a lot
Sure.
of these genres onto its head. But also the visual effects.
Set its own mold, yeah.
Yeah, most of the visual effects in this movie were practical effects. In fact, Rick Baker was brought in after a miscommunication with the original designer. Rick Baker, Marvin, is a extremely famous creature designer. He's done it all. He's done American Werewolf in London, Predator, Planet of the Apes, Men in Black, The Grinch. Like, you name a creature in a film, he's done it. And he brought in, he made this Predator, and the Predator is one of, if not the most iconic film creatures to date. But more amazingly than that, the VFX, and I was reading about this, the invisibility effect was achieved. They had someone wear a bright red suit because it was the farthest opposite of the green of the jungle and the blue of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
This person was about the size of the Predator, and the red was removed using chroma key techniques. And chroma key is when you go in and you remove a specific color from a piece of footage,
Right.
and that left an empty area, right, where the red was. Well, the take was then repeated without the actors using a 30% wider lens on the camera, and when the two takes were combined together optically, the jungle from the second take filled the empty area. So because the second take was filmed on a wider lens, you would see a vague outline of the alien. And I think that's fucking cool.
That's pretty smart. No, that's pretty smart. Yeah.
But
on screen, I mean, I guess it looks okay.
I mean, honestly,
I think it's cool that they achieved it.
Yeah.
They
But that
really had
doesn't
to
mean it
brainstorm
looks
to come up with that shit. And at the
Yeah.
time, it looked great.
Mhm.
Like,
I'm sure
if
it
you can
did.
imagine movies in 1987.
right. Yeah. Another
Yeah,
thing
It's
about
impressive.
Another thing about the visual effects, the thermal vision, infrared film couldn't be used because it didn't register in the range of body temperature wavelengths. So the filmmakers used Inframetrics thermal video scanner because it did give good heat images of objects and people. The glowing
Yeah,
blood.
infrared stuff is highly like overdone in movies.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, okay.
infrared camera at a building and you see bodies moving around behind the walls.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Total bullshit. It's not how it works.
The glowing blood was achieved with just green liquid from glow sticks mixed with
Yeah.
personal lubricant for texture.
Mm.
The electrical sparks were
Don't use it combined like
Or-
that, people.
His pleasure.
The electrical sparks were rotoscoped animation using white paper pins registered on portable light tables to black and white prints. So a lot of ingenuity went into creating the effects of this movie. And honestly, going back and watching them, while obviously they don't stand up to current visual effects, I still think they
course.
looked pretty decent. I think. I mean,
Yeah.
And again, imagine at the time you're probably fucking blown. People were probably blown away watching that shit.
That's why it's hard. It's hard to
Mhm.
take away. It's not like I can let me just wipe my brain clean before I watch this, and
Let's get into a little bit of the cast and crew of this movie. Predator was directed by John McTiernan. Yeah, he does have a lot of bangers under his belt. Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Thomas Crown Affair, 13th Warrior. This guy, he doesn't have a lot of credits, but
Those are all amazing movies.
all his creditors are just straight bangers, Marvin.
Okay.
Yes.
Talking about cast, we got, I just found out for the very first time in my life, right now, live, as you're watching it, well, recorded, that Shane Black played Hawkins. And Shane Black is the director. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. He directed The Predator from a couple years ago. And I never realized he was Hawkins in this movie. So it was only fitting. You didn't realize either, Coda? Dusty?
Dan, are you okay? No, I'm gonna. Yes, I knew that.
I did not know.
Common knowledge.
I had no idea, honestly. I did not realize, but we got Shane Black as Hawkins.
Shane Black has roots in this franchise.
Yeah, which is fitting that he went back and directed it all those years later.
Right.
That's
why I was excited about that movie when it was coming out. I was like, holy shit, it's Shane Black. Like, he's this guy from the original.
We got our boy Bill Duke as Mac.
I love Bill Duke.
Jesse Ventura as Blaine. Carl Weathers as Dylan. Carl Weathers is, Apollo Creed. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dutch.
Yep.
And this was around the time, Marvin, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was being called on to just do every fucking thing in Hollywood. Once Conan the Barbarian came out. Yeah, once Conan the Barbarian, they hired him for Conan the Barbarian because how big he was. I don't know if you know this, Marvin, but he was a world-class bodybuilder. Like he did.
I did actually know this.
Bodybuilding competitions. So he was brought into Conan because of his build, because of his like accent that people found strange and weird at the time. But he went on to be like probably the most legendary action film star of all time. And after Conan, he went on to do the second Conan, Terminator, Commando, Predator, The Running Man. All in
He's the biggest non-American action star.
I was thinking that too. He's like this American Vietnam vet in this film, and he just has.
He's an American action star, but he's not American.
Yes.
And he was governor of California for a while, and he wanted to run for president, but he couldn't because he's not American.
So yeah, iconic movie, iconic one-liners, arguably one of the biggest sci-fi movies of all time, and going back and watching this as an adult, I hadn't seen it in a couple years, and I think it's still just as good.
I can tell that it was very iconic when it first came out.
Right.
So I'll give it some legacy bias. I'll give it I'm gonna give this a 6.5.
Okay, that's actually not bad.
Yeah. I'll give it that's the legacy bias.
Yeah. It's fair.
I don't know. It was okay.
Okay.
It was okay.
Did you find the action fun? Like,
not really.
Okay.
Well, let me just think here about
I think
action.
you get taken out of it by the CGI. I get it. Not the CG, the visual effects.
Maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Comparing it to the other 80s movies that we covered, I didn't really feel I was fully immersed in these two movies, Jaws and Top Gun. This one, I wasn't fully immersed.
Well,
I'll just leave it at that, I guess.
The thing is like Jaws is a character movie, really. Like it's about those three guys that are in the midst of this like plot, where Predator is more just about like leading up to the final showdown. Like that's the movie.
Right.
It's like a classic action movie.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
One is a horror thriller character drama. The other one is an action adventure. Popcorn flick. And I can understand why you would think that something like Jaws would hold up better than something like Predator. The idea now, like when you watched it back then, it was different. But if you watch Predator now, like that's a cookie cutter story.
But it wasn't of the time.
CIA does something, it goes wrong. They send in another crew and they lie to them about why they're going in.
Very classic.
They come up against an uncompelling enemy that they have no knowledge of.
Right.
And it's an alien, and so they have to fucking fight it and kill it. And it's one-on-one. Like This was unheard of back then.
Right.
And so like the bias for us is going to be a little different. But now like you could probably name off what I just said, like 10 fucking movies that fit that bill.
Right.
The story was actually a joke. It was a joke that said that since Rocky Balboa had run out of earthly opponents, he would have to fight an alien in a fifth film, if a fifth film were made. So the writers of Predator took that inspiration from that little joke and were like, oh, well, let's just make an action hero fight an alien.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I love that.
Wait, so Predator isn't Predator is original. It wasn't based on a comic or anything.
Nope. This is the original one. Actually,
correct.
That's pretty impressive. Then.
And guess what? The video game Contra was loosely based off of Predator.
Wow.
So iconic is not even the right word for it. I originally saw this movie when I was a kid, and it obviously stuck out to me because of, you know, the visual effects and the monster and all the things that you would attach yourself to in a movie like this. Going back and watching it now, all these, because I haven't seen it in years, and I think I liked it just as much as I did back then. It's sitting on IMDb with a 7.8. That's very high, and I think part of this rating is probably what you said, Marvin, like sort of the legacy of it is adding to that. I would probably give this like a 7, though. Dusty, you didn't give your rating. What do you got?
I'm with you. I give it a 7. I think it's a little bit overrated. Again, for its time, it was ahead of its time, and it did some amazing things, and it broke free some things. But as like a standalone movie, the story, the characters, there's not a whole lot there. The graphics are okay. It's it's a strong 7, especially for what it was.
You know, one could argue that for just a standard action movie, like you don't need much plot and stuff like that. So like Cookie Cutter,
that's true.
Cookie Cutter is
Look
often
at John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, John Wick, you know, original idea, like they killed my fucking dog.
They killed my dog. I'm gonna kill them all.
Yeah, I think the lore and things that came out of it is really the amazing part.
You would think so, but Alien vs. Predator are pretty terrible movies.
I thought some of those were some fun movies, but
they're fun. But yeah, there's our thoughts, folks, on Predator from 1987, the original. If you're like Marvin and you haven't seen it, go watch it, check it out, and let us know what you think. Either over on Twitter or in our YouTube comments. And again, check out our website, harshlanguage.tv, for all our recent podcast episodes, YouTube videos, and the news by Dusty. Catch you in the next episode, folks. Thanks for listening or watching.
See ya.
Basta.